Welcome to Chanakya, where you get the right guidance at the right time. Today I have with me two expert coaches, Vishu and Ananth, with whom we are going to explore a situation which Scrum Masters very often face. Welcome Vishu and Ananth.
Thank you, Srini.
Okay, I have a situation here from Divya, a Scrum Master, right? She is having a challenging time with a product owner at this stage, right? The team is midway through a sprint, 2-week sprint, and the product owner wants a change to be introduced urgently because of a platinum customer, right? The team has been asked to do this similarly a few more times earlier, right? And the team is no longer bothered about the sprint goals and they're not taking it seriously, right? Divya is now seeking the help from an Agile coach on how to engage with Chandra in such a situation. Anand, what would be your first suggestion to Divya in such conditions?
Okay, I mean, in the first place, Divya needs to have an understanding of, how changing the sprint goals midway impacts, right? What kind of impact it has. If she has that understanding, she'll have a lot more conviction, right? For example, she's got to know that when you break sprint goals frequently, it sort of demotivates the team, and the team feels disempowered. Right? It's a bit like when the team is running at 100. You're having 100 meters dash, and then someone puts an obstacle or a detour in the middle. No, it somehow it affects the team. I think apart from that, there's also the waste that gets created. You stop some of the stories, sort of incomplete, and that creates waste. So if Divya is able to, I think another thing Divya has to reflect on is why she's not able to prevent this, because I see that it's happening frequently, and maybe she needs to be more assertive in this case.
Okay. So very importantly, what I take away what you're saying is she first of all needs to have a conviction to prevent this interference from happening. Anand, if I understood right. Vishu, any other suggestion or track that you would take with Divya in this condition?
Yeah, I would suggest her first to assess the situation. Talk to Chandra and see whether it is a kind of a customer or a market pattern which is driving these frequent changes, or is it a lack of proactive backlog management by Chandra. If it's a typical pattern that's coming from the customer or the market, I think then she should bring the team and Chandra together, and collaboratively they should look at, is there a different way to deal with this situation. For example, Scrum Ban could be a better approach instead of a Scrum, so that they can balance the planned set of activities as well as the random ad hoc things that come up. On the other hand, if it is a lack of proactive backlog management by Chandra, then she needs to be a little bit more assertive, as Ananth mentioned.
Okay. So the first thing I'm saying is, if there is a genuine need, maybe it is time to take a step back and look at alternative ways on how the team will work together. But you also brought up assertiveness, so I'm going to go back. Anand, how does Divya express her assertiveness in such a situation?
I mean, okay, assertiveness doesn't mean being rude, right? Okay, it's not sort of shut the door on Chandra's face, get out.
Not just saying no.
Not just saying no. I think she's got to be able to push back with empathy, right? While understanding his or Chandra's situation, be still able to push back with empathy, right? And be firm in it, right? But if she finds this continued pressure from Chandra to repeatedly, maybe she should involve Chandra's product manager as well as the engineering manager, and they could all meet together. Not so much to complain about what's happening, but more to develop a common understanding and set expectations of how the whole thing should actually be working.
Okay, I hear what both of you are saying, but to me somehow they look like a little medium-term solution. And Divya is in a situation where Chandra is knocking on her door right now. Right? What does he do with Chandra at this stage? Any thoughts, Vishu?
Very valid point. I think it is, right now she has to look at urgency and it's on fire. So again, she has to talk to Chandra and see whether this story can be pushed to next sprint, because it's just 1 week more. If Chandra doesn't accept that and he says it's extremely critical for customer, then probably she should bring Chandra and the team together, and Chandra should explain to the team the criticality of the situation, and then they should collaboratively figure out what can be pushed out to next sprint, and this story to be accomplished in the current sprint. I would say that's the
trade-off.
trade-off.
That's the trade-off. So, what is this funda about?
So that, yeah, exactly. See, why I am asking this is that they should not break the rhythm of the sprint.
Rhythm of the sprint, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that, right? So now I'm going to wear for a minute Chandra's hat, right? I'm going to say, look, what prevents you from actually changing the deadline by a few days and meet the objective? What is all this funda about? Rhythm. And how does it actually impact?
So just move the sprint end date by a couple of
Exactly,
days. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Why not? I mean, if I'm a product owner,
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the objective being met.
Yeah. What is so sacrosanct about
I mean,
the
why are you
Yeah.
seeming to insist
sprint rhythm?
on sticking?
Yeah, it's a very important point. There are multiple aspects. I think first one, if you look at the immediate impact on the team, if you break the rhythm, as it is already happening because of frequent breaking of sprint goals, already team is becoming, who cares for the sprint goal? Anyway, it's going to change. So it will break the team culture. That's a very big impact, because then every sprint will get impacted. So it's not good for Chandra either, because he cannot get a predictable outcome from the team. Everything kind of slips. That's one important point. Second one is, if we have a rhythmic way of planning and execution, a lot of other activities can be organized and coordinated around that. So that makes things simple. Third point is, if you look at dependencies across multiple teams. So this brings a synchronized way of planning and execution. In the absence of that, even a one slip in one of the teams will have a cascading effect. So it helps to bring that rhythmic and synchronized way of delivery across multiple teams. I would say one more important point is that if you bring rhythm, teams can look at like a velocity. How are we doing in the same fixed time frame? It's similar to, for example, in a boat race, the moment they start rowing rhythmically, they get the speed. So the team will gain velocity and they will be able to drive improvement through that. So I would say having a rhythmic way of running sprints is an extremely important point.
I think it reminds me of the Kerala boat races, right? I love the fact that how they probably actually make that speed
To the
increase to the drum beat, right?
Yes.
Very interesting, very valid point. Now the importance of rhythm is sort of getting clear.
In fact, Scrum Master is like that drum beater.
Okay. Ananth, any other things that you would want to advise Divya?
I think the general point is, when there are situations like this, if Divya knows the underlying principles behind the actions and the practices, she'll find it easier to improvise, use a bit of creativity and imagination to deal with the situation on the spot, right? And maybe Divya should take a step back and understand what her role as Scrum Master broadly. See, there are two sides to this, right? One is the demand side, where there's a market and customers are feeding in requirements, and the PO is collecting them and funneling and feeding it into the team. And there's the other side, there's the team, which is the supply side. There's some capacity,
Fulfillment.
They expect to fulfill that demand through their capacity. But what you want is a balance, right, between the two, right? Not one overwhelming the other, or neither the team becoming slack, and so you don't want that. So the key thing is to maintain that balance, so that there is a sustainable pace, right, which can be which can continue for a long time.
I like the fact, right? We always keep talking of Scrum Master as being in a leadership position.
Yeah.
I think you brought it out pretty effectively.
Yeah.
Assertiveness, innovativeness on the fly, balancing.
Yeah.
I think good to know that a Scrum Master is actually a leadership role, right? And I think great inputs on how to handle volatility in a sprint, right? I'm going to summarize the key points that I noted down for Divya's benefit, feel free to chip in if I missed out something.
Sure.
Right? First, try to understand the context better from the product owner and see whether the need is genuinely caused by the market or it is due to inadequate backlog management. Right? If the ad hoc changes are caused by your market pressures, relook at the way in which you're approaching your delivery, maybe things like Scrum Bar. If it is due to inadequacy in backlog management, start getting a little assertive and figure out a way to negotiate, right? What stories can be put in and what has to be taken out. In the unlikely event that can't be done, start working upstairs to get the help, right? But most importantly, understand the principles behind the practices and apply them in such a way that there is a balance between both the supply side and the demand side.
Yep.
Anything else, Vishu and Anand?
That sounds good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Thank you, Vishu and Anand, for your valuable experiential insights. I am sure Scrum Masters like Divya would benefit from these valuable experiential insights of Vishu and Anand. Thank you.